Jeff, this is such an interesting concept. Aside from injury, is maybe boredom? Is that the number one enemy for runners?
It's so funny you say that, Jason. I mean, I feel that question all the time. I've done a number of interviews now in support of this book, and people I've coached and people I've worked with, people I just talked to about running who are not familiar with it. And the big concern is that I just put one foot in front of the other, and that's the entirety of it. How does that not get boring? I think of running as being a relationship you have with your body. And like with all relationships, you got to keep finding ways to make it fresh. So you choose different routes, you choose to run with people, you choose to make it a social thing, which is a big deal. And then you find ways to make fun with it. So that was the original idea for the running bucket list. Like, where can we go and what races should we put on a calendar that will inspire us, motivate us, give us these great experiences? And I personally have been lucky enough, really, to be able to run almost literally around the world. I've run in Antarctica, past the pyramids, through the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, in the shadow of the Himalayas. And to me, all this is very inspiring. But on a beautiful day, it's hard to be bored when it's just gorgeous outside and you could be out in the woods or running through your city. But find a way to make it fun. It can be fun. It should be fun.
There are 106 ideas on the bucket list. How did you decide which ones made the final cut? And what's the best idea which you had to leave out, which is not in the book?
You know, I just couldn't list every race. It's so hard to pick. It's like, who's your favorite child? When people ask me, what is your favorite race that you've ever run? They're so different. It's hard to put them all in one category. If you love big city races, the Chicago Marathon is this coming Sunday, and you'll have 45,000, 50,000 people there. New York, Boston, all the history. And those are wonderful races, but also there are little small town races. I tell people sometimes about one that I ran out in Idaho, where there's a couple of hundred people, you cross the finish line, and they give you a coupon and you go down the street to get a milkshake from the local drugstore. I love the charm of that. It felt just like a little hometown race. So I love all these. So, the hard part was leaving some of these out. It's like leaving a child behind. I had to pick some of the big iconic ones. And mostly for our market, most of them are here in the US. I did pick a number of really key, big international ones, but I could have picked dozens more, and they're so much fun. Um, the ones I had to leave out, you talk about, not being bored. A lot of races have all these little quirks, these fun things. It's not only about the running. Things as crazy as eat a dozen donuts in the middle of the race. They have that in a race in North Carolina, the Krispy Kreme race, which I'd like to do. The only race I can imagine where you gain weight by the end of the race. Um, and all these color runs and all these costume runs and zombie runs. And so many of them are fun, and you just find out about more and more of them, and you want to add them all in. And you just can't do that. You have to pick some key ones.
For the people who may be intimidated by this book, maybe people who run once or twice a week, which ideas do you find are the most attainable right off the bat?
Well, I will say there's some, I believe, really good advice in there in starting out. Because one of the issues I deal with my clients when they start running is that you should take yourself seriously. You are an athlete. There's no like low bar, requirement to being a runner. I tell people you're a runner as soon as you decide you're a runner. If you go around the block, you're a runner. There is nothing that you need to attain, no box that you have to check off, no police are going to, pull you off the roads. So don't be intimidated by this, but take yourself seriously. So among the suggestions I have in the book about places to go and things to do is about the support you should have as a runner. I believe that all runners at some point should try coaching, to be coached, to try and attain their best potential, to avoid injury. I talk about getting a gait analysis from a professional. Usually that's a physical therapist. You may be able to get recommendations from your local running club, but have a trained professional look at your form on a treadmill to see if maybe you're doing something wrong. There's some adjustment you have to make, some strength exercises that will really help your running and help you avoid injury. So getting off on the right foot, literally, when you begin your journey is the most important part. So it's a wonderful sport in a way because we all come to it kind of humble. For every runner out there, there's somebody faster than you. And even the very fastest ones, remember, they didn't start out that way. So in my experience, the community is very supportive. So you don't have to feel like you don't belong. You don't have to feel you're not as fast as everybody else. It's to me, a big welcoming tent. And if you just involve yourself in it, you'll see how you'll be very welcome. So just get out there, give it a try, get off on your best foot, and don't be intimidated. Everybody is there to support you. It's really true.
For that reason, is it beneficial for someone starting out or a novice to join a running club locally?
I really believe that for a number of ways. And it's so interesting since the pandemic, membership in running clubs has just been booming. I think it's all this pent up need to socialize. There's this myth of these solitary runners out there, the loneliness of the long distance runner, that we are lonely people and we like to be alone.
Like
And
Forrest Gump.
like Forrest Gump. But even by the end of that scene, right, he had a crowd around him that, people gravitate together. And runners tend to be, in my experience, very, very social. And so a running club will provide a great opportunity for you to meet other people that you could connect with, they could run with, they could share the good times and the misery, and that comes with running, and get a lot of good advice on things. I was mentored by some key people, in my early days of running, who would give little suggestions and ideas and tips and help me with things and just provide a welcoming place. And I'll tell you, one of the most important things about going to a running club is that when you run with a group, whether it's a formal running club and their regular workouts, or even just a group of people that you meet up with, that you end up bonding with, that when you have someone who's out there waiting for you to show up, you're much more likely to get out the door. And the hardest part of running, absolutely the hardest part of running, is to walk out that door. Once you do that, all these good things happen. But sometimes it's tough. But if you know someone's waiting for you, especially if it's the kind of friend who'll really razz you later if you don't show up, then that's the best part about running with a group, that it helps motivate you to get out there. And once you do that, you'll never regret having done a run. You may not look forward to the run. You may not like the idea at first, but you'll always be happy that you've done it, almost all the time.
Among the items or ideas are these themed races. You mentioned one in San Antonio, Valentine's Day. Have you run it? And what stands out to that? What stands out about that particular race?
Well, actually, I've not done that one. So that's a funny thing about this book. So the book is not just to motivate you, it's also to motivate me. I'm sharing a lot of the experience that I've done. So, the Himalayan stage race, that's a race I've done. The Comrades Marathon, the JFK 50-mile ultra marathon. I've done these races, but also there are a lot of races I found, events I found all around the world that I haven't done, that are on my bucket list. So I'm sharing that with you. And hopefully, maybe I'll join you out there. You'll see me out there doing some of these great races, including that Krispy Kreme donut race that my wife wants no part of. But I'm kind of intrigued by it. Let's have fun with this. Let's have a good time. So a lot of the races on the list just look like fun, like that Valentine's Day race. The country is filled with so many great small town races, and people bring a great sense of humor and sense of adventure to these. Find them. Find these races. You can look them up. You can talk to people in your local run club. Look at the T-shirts that other people wear and ask them about, that race. Did you do that one? What was that like? People love to talk about it and create your own bucket list. This book is supposed to be a point of departure for you to find other things to do also.
You've run more than 200 marathons.
Yeah.
Is there one that stands out in the sense that it changed your perspective on running?
Wow. Okay, so there's one that I've come back to at different points of my life. It's so funny. They say, like with reading a book sometimes, that you could read a book when you're young and you look at it one way, and then you become an adult and you look at it a different way, and you get older and you read it and all of a sudden you see it differently. The Marine Corps Marathon here in my hometown of Washington, D.C., was the very first marathon I'd ever run years ago. And I'd run it again periodically over the years. And a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, this past summer, I had a freak accident, this horrific injury. I tripped while running, and somehow I landed just so on my hip and fractured my femur. The biggest, strongest bone in your body, somehow I cracked it while running. This is a bone usually cracked in like a car accident or playing football. So I had to call 911, got taken to the hospital. I had a metal rod implanted in my leg. It's still there. Never, doubted whether I'd ever be able to run again. They assured me, you'll be back, you'll be back, you'll be back. So for me, coming back and running the Marine Corps Marathon again, after all these years, to return as a first-time runner, it was a very emotional moment for me to be there. And to be able to reconnect with it and to reestablish myself as a runner. Every time I do a marathon, part of it is to show myself that I'm still that guy who could run a marathon, that I could dig deep. And hopefully I'll be able to do it in 2 weeks, that they will host it here in DC despite the shutdown. Fingers crossed.
Have you spent much time in Texas running?
It's funny you say that. So in December, I'm going to be doing the San Antonio Marathon, the inaugural marathon down there. I've run the Dallas Marathon several times. I was a pacer there for Cliff Bar a couple of times. And being a pacer is a whole different experience. And I believe that's one of the things I talk about in the book as well, to run with a pace group in a race and see what that's like and get that energy of these people with a similar goal. So I've done some running in Texas, and I love it down there. Houston, a great quick story. President George H.W. Bush, in his later years, in a wheelchair, was on the side of the road with the security detail cheering us on. And I couldn't have been more touched by that. Not for the cameras, not for publicity, not for politics, but because he felt happy that people were in his hometown doing something extraordinary. And I grabbed a selfie with him. So Houston has a soft spot in my heart for that as well.
All right. I don't want you to give us your number one item on your bucket list, but what would be your number two item on the bucket list that you haven't done other than the Krispy Kreme donuts?
Oh, good, Jason. There is so many I want to do. Well, I'll tell you.
Even at this stage, all the marathons you've run, you still
Yeah.
have ones that I've got to do that. I've got to get there.
Yeah. Well, actually, I do have one coming up that was been on my bucket list for a while. So there's something that's been created called the World Marathon Majors. So an organization a couple of years ago, they collect these runners, especially like racers, especially marathoners, tend to be collectors. We collect these experiences, right? So I've run at least one marathon in every state. I've wanted to run one in every continent. I'm close. And what this organization did is they tied together 6 iconic races into a series, like you would have in golf or tennis. And for professionals, just like in golf or tennis, you could earn quite a bit of money if you win a certain number of races or place in the top few. For those of us who are just mere mortals, just completing all 6 of those is a big deal. And they give you a special medal, and you're a world marathon major completer, and all that complete arbitrary yet motivational stuff. So when they established this, I went down the list of the race I'd done, and lo and behold, I've done 5 of the 6. All I needed was Tokyo. Tokyo, the hardest race to get into. It's extremely difficult. Even as a charity runner, it's very difficult to get in. This year, I managed to get in. So in March, I'll be checking that big race off my bucket list and going to do that. But there's so many. There's one I found out about in Scotland, running from distillery to distillery. And that sounds like that'd be a hoot. You got to have fun with this sport. It's not always about setting PRs and running till you drop. It's about enjoying your life and making activity and movement a part of it.
Jeff Horowitz, marathoner, ultra marathoner, and the author of The Running Bucket List. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.